Hello friends! Today we're going to take another look at our alphabet book. This is the front cover, back cover, and the title. The title of this book is Alphabet Book, and this is the spine. Now just like our big book of poems, this book also has a whole bunch of poems, but these poems are all alphabet poems. When I open it up, I see the title page. That's just to remind you of the title in case you forgot. And when I turn the page again, I see a special place called the Table of Contents. The Table of Contents tells you where to find things. Today, we will be looking at 2 letter poems for the letters Y and Z. Before we look at them, let's talk a little bit more about those letters. Just like you and I have names, letters have names too, and when we write our names, we use an uppercase letter. Each letter has both an uppercase and a lowercase. Now, before I write these letters down, I just want to remind you, this is the sky, the grass, and the ground. Some letters start in the sky and some letters start in the grass. For the letter Y, I start in the sky, diagonal to the grass, back to the sky, diagonal to the ground. For lowercase y, I start in the grass, curve down, curve up, slide and dig underground. This is the letter Y. I do have to tell you though that there's actually another way to write the letter Y. Sometimes people like to write the letter Y diagonal down, vertical down for uppercase. For lowercase, they like to go diagonal down and diagonal underground. So those are some different ways people write the letter Y. But either way, friends, what do you notice about the letter Y? Well, if you write your letter Y like this, then you might say that they're full of all straight lines. They're diagonal or they're up and down, but they're straight. If you write your letter Y like this, you might say, this one has curved lines and this one does not. But what I want you to do is write the letter Y in a way that feels the most comfortable for you. Miss G likes to write hers like this. So, my friends, again, no matter what, write it the way that feels right, and just remember, when you write lowercase y, it has a part that digs underground. It could be digging with a tail or just a straight diagonal down. All right, friends, let's look at our next letter. I'm going to write the letter Z. For letter Z, you go across the sky, diagonal down, across the ground. That's an uppercase Z. For lowercase z, I go across the grass, diagonal down, across the ground. Now, what do you notice about uppercase Z and lowercase z? You're right, uppercase Z is bigger, but they both look exactly the same. They're both made up of 2 horizontal lines and 1 vertical line that connects them. Now let's look at both letters. What do you notice? Well, if you write your Y like Miss G, then these letters are similar because they're made up of diagonal lines. But this one is not similar. And if you write your letter Y like this, then you might say, well, Y and Z are both made of straight lines. Now that we know a little bit about these letters Y and Z, let's read some poems about them. Remember, we can check the table of contents to see where we can find them. I see the letter Y is going to be on page 52, and the letter Z is going to be on page 54. I'm going to turn to the poem for the letter Y first. And remember, before we start, let's make some observations. What do you notice about the illustrations on this page? What do you see? You might say, I see a boy in the mountains, and it looks like there's a yak carrying a whole lot of stuff on his back. What do you see on there? Well, I see a kite and a sock, a yo-yo, and some yarn. All right, friends. I think those were some pretty good observations. Let's read our poem about the letter Y. A young yak with a yellow pack walked near and said hello. I asked the yak with the yellow pack, what's in there, do you know? And he said, a yard of yarn, a sock to darn, a yo-yo and a kite. Then the yak with the yellow pack just yawned and said good night. That sure was a silly poem about things that start with the letter Y. And if you ask me, it looks a little too early to say good night, but maybe the yak is tired from carrying all that stuff down this huge mountain. Well, let's go ahead and look at our poem for the letter Z. And before we read it, let's make some observations. What do you notice? You might say, I see some kids and a grown-up. And it looks like they're looking at some zebras. Let's read about them. One day at the zoo, a fuzzy, buzzy fly landed on a zebra and zigzagged by its eye. The zebra whipped its tail and zapped the pesky bug, who zoomed into the air and landed in a jug. Oh my, that was such a fun poem. I know I'm not a big fan of flies, but it looks like the zebras don't mind them too much. All right, friends, let's play a game. Every time you hear a word with a Z, I want you to zip up and down. We're going to pretend we're a zipper, okay? Ready, friends? One day at the zoo, a fuzzy, buzzy fly landed on a zebra and zigzagged by its eye. The zebra whipped its tail and zapped the pesky bug, who zoomed into the air and landed in a jug. I'm so glad we read that and that we got to talk about letters. I love reading poems with you. You're amazing. I'll see you again later.